I sort of just got to that point where I'm just sick of being a shit person. And that's where I changed my life. You know what I mean?
Well, that's taking ownership.
I'm probably trying to grow myself before I can grow the company.
I'm really thinking you're going to inspire a lot of people that are listening to this. G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We are back in the shed this afternoon, and I'll give you a little bit of backstory on this one, because even just sitting here having a little chat before we got started today, this is definitely going to be a cracker. So today we've got with us Matt Lynch from Matt Lynch Tiling up in Toowoomba, and a little bit of a backstory of how we met. Anyone that follows me on my socials would have seen earlier in 2024, I went to a property investing conference with Robert, I can never get his last name right, Kawasaki, whatever it is. And then one of the other speakers there was JT Fox. And anyway, I got way out of my comfort zone, ended up spending 10 grand to go and spend an hour and a half with him. Ever since, I've had a lot of clarity. But the other thing that I got out of that was we went and got to do a 2-day, I think there was 130 odd people that got to go and spend time with him in a room. Incredible value. I've never written so many notes in all my life. And yeah, the guy that we have with us here today was sitting at the table behind me. We had to do a little group exercise. And anyway, long story short, he's sitting here now doing a podcast. He's a tiler from Toowoomba. And yeah, jumped at the chance to come and have a chat on the podcast. How are you, mate?
Good, Dwayne. How are you, mate?
Excellent. So a little bit nervous today. Never done a podcast before.
No.
I like these ones because like the whole point of this podcast is just to get people understanding that they're not the only people in the industry that are dealing with stuff. And
100%, yep.
Yeah, like anyone that's been in this industry for any period of time, there's lots of challenges out there. So we like to talk about them and dive into them.
Yeah, I think you got to. It makes things a lot easier.
Yeah. So mate, what's a tiler doing? Like, to be honest, I was actually blown away because obviously at that JT Fox event, whatever it was, 130, 140 people, I was actually blown away at how many tradies there were in that room. Like there was scaffolding companies, there was bitumen companies, there was tilers, I think there was a couple of landscaping contractors. Like I was really excited to see so many tradies actually putting time, money and energy into themselves.
Yeah. I think it has to be done, like especially in this day and age, you know, like there's a lot more to it than just rocking up and working, you know. So.
Yeah. And then you ended up going further. You went and did an extra 3 days.
Yeah.
And you were saying that's giving you a tunnel vision now. So
yeah, it sort of gave me clarity because, as you know, it's so hard to get good workers. So I've sort of given up on that a little bit. Well, I'm happy to take if anybody wants a job and they're good at it. Well, I'm happy to take them on, but it's just so hard to get good motivated people.
Yeah, the industry is a tough industry, isn't it? Like it doesn't matter what trade you are.
No,
like,
that's
just
right.
Finding people that can put effort in, day out, show up, do their thing, and add value to your business.
Yeah, that's right. That's all they got to do is care. That's all they have to do.
Yeah, and tiling's I admire tiling. Like one of my favourite things with the builders that I follow on Instagram is I always call them out about their tile setouts. There's a couple that I follow that just like unbelievable, like the way the effort they go to in their framing stages to set out so that everything's equal tiles, and like I love it. I think it's fantastic. To me, that's how it should be. Like
definitely,
you get your clients to select everything. You figure it all out. You know what the tiles are, and you work backwards so that you like. It shits me when you turn up or you walk through houses and you got like these little shit cuts along walls.
Yeah,
and
that's right. And then you usually have a problem with quantities because you're wasting so much of a tile.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't understand that, where if you got, you know, a tile that's 10 mil bigger than half, you're wasting, if you don't have another place to use that cut or off cut, you're wasting all that. So yeah, I think a lot needs to be in the set out. And I think, that's where builders could probably take a bit more on in that aspect of it, yeah.
So, man, let's dive into business. Like I think we got a lot to talk about today. Like you sent us a few notes and things. Like you've got a pretty standard story, I guess, when it comes to the industry. But you're still pushing on. You keep coming back bigger and better.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm probably trying to obviously grow myself before I can grow the company, because if you know it's hard getting up every day because you're the only motivation you got. Like that's what's hard about our industry, is that it's up to you to get up every day, where you know you don't work for somebody else. You know, it's up to you. And if a job doesn't get done, well, you don't get paid. So that's your motivation every day. So, and it gets really hard, and it gets really tough.
I think for anybody that has never worked in our industry or tried to run a business in our industry, it can be quite hard to understand, because it's not like other businesses can grow, I believe, really easily, like, because they're either operated online or they're in a fixed location.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to grow because your staff come to you, they have a place of work.
Yeah.
Whereas a builder or a tradie, like, for you to grow, that means that you're spread over multiple sites, which means you have to manage multiple teams, which
that's
means
right.
you then have to have someone in those teams that can run it like you do.
Exactly.
And that is really hard to find.
Yeah, you can't find them, because if there is a person out there, they're usually working for themselves anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing a lot, is that a lot of, once they know that they've got to that point, they just want to go out on their own.
Yeah.
But they've got, at the end of the day, like, I've got nothing wrong with them going out on their own, but it's so much easier just to work with somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just build yourself up. Like, it took me, like, I went out on my own the first time back in 2012, basically went through a bad relationship. Basically started my own business because we were all quiet. I was in a heap of debt, got a car repossessed, all this sort of stuff. Basically got back on my feet, ran the business, then...
So can we go back and talk about your story a bit?
Yeah.
So have you always been a tiler?
Yep.
And did an apprenticeship, work for
I
another...
actually didn't do an apprenticeship. It was actually, because I was only 14, 15 when I started, because I was up in Toowoomba, I actually had to go do TAFE in Brisbane. And my parents were like, he's 15 years old, he's not going to Brisbane, and we ended up seeing a local member and saying, this is bullshit. Like, why has a young kid got to go all the way to Brisbane by himself?
Well, you wouldn't have a license.
No, exactly. So I basically had to get the train or whatever down there and then stay in a place all by myself, as a 15-year-old kid. Like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
So I ended up quitting my apprenticeship and then basically just went subby, like, as a labourer sort of thing, and then did recognition of prior learning after that.
Yeah. So how many years did you do labouring that for?
7 years. But I was still like tiling properly and still learning. Like, it was basically like an apprenticeship, but just no paperwork. And
for the same boss?
Yeah, same guy, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, well, look, that's thinking outside the box. Like, sometimes you got to do whatever it takes.
Well, that's it. Like, I wasn't going to quit. It was just, obviously I had to pay my own super, my own tax and all that sort of thing. But it was a lot easier. That, to me, was a lot easier than going down to Brisbane for whatever, 6-8 weeks a year by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a big ask for a young, like, well, I'm assuming that's changed now. Like,
Toowoomba's, yeah, there's, I think...
Toowoomba's like a friggin' little city now. Like,
yeah.
Booming.
Yeah.
So then, what age were you when you decided to go out on your own?
20, it was either 22 or 23.
Yeah.
Still very, very immature now that I look back. Very immature.
But like the same thing that we're talking about, like we started talking about, like you did.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what you do. Like everyone
I thought I had it all, like I thought I knew what I was doing, and
everyone thinks the grass is greener.
Yep. It definitely wasn't. I just dug myself a massive hole, got in heaps of tax debt, pretty much went bankrupt, and then...
So did you go bankrupt?
Yeah, well, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I couldn't get... I think, how you get your credit score, and it's like out of 1,000. My credit score was 70.
Yeah. And that's because you couldn't pay off debt.
I couldn't pay any
shit
debts.
repossessed and stuff.
Yeah.
And is that because you started like your own business and you started earning what you thought was better money, but you didn't understand you had to put away tax and super?
Yeah, and I basically pissed a lot of it up the wall.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in a good headspace. I was dealing with a lot, was victim of domestic violence from my ex-girlfriend and all that sort of thing. So I was in a really bad space. And obviously, how it just snowballs when you're in that sort of frame of mind. So...
this is really, like, I appreciate you talking about this, because this is really good to go from that to now this year you've gone to JT Fox events and stuff, and you're like, I think this is a really good example and shows people like anybody can get ahead. So like, how did you work your way out of that? Like, if you went bankrupt and...
Well, basically, I didn't actually, this is where I didn't actually go bankrupt. I didn't say I'm not paying I actually paid all those debts back.
Yeah.
Over 4 or 5 years. So I paid all those debts back, and then... By
working for someone else? Or
just work for somebody else, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was luckily, and that's when everything sort of clicked for me straight. Like, once I knew that, I couldn't go out on my own, I had all this debt, I had nothing. All I had was my job.
Yeah.
So I rocked up every day and I worked my fucking ass off every day.
Yeah.
and managed to get better pay, and then work my way out of it.
Yeah. And then eventually got to a point where you went out on your own again.
Yep.
And like you obviously learned a lot from those lessons.
Yeah.
And you would have had 4 years to pay it all off. I'm sure you had a lot to think about.
Definitely.
Did you do any extra learning or anything in that time, or like?
No, well, all the learning didn't really come to me until the last 2 or 3 years, because I was working for somebody else only 2 years ago, and I worked with him through the whole thing, the whole 10 years from when I basically went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And I worked for him, and he showed a lot of faith in me, and obviously because I busted my ass, he wanted me to work for him.
Yeah.
So whatever I wanted, he gave me and helped me out with a lot of things and all that. So, I've got a lot to thank for him for what he's done for me. But all this extra learning just sort of come to me because, I'm sort of out of all that now. I want to keep moving forward.
And you don't want to go back to
exactly.
where you were.
And that's the thing.
So some people, you could either fall in a hole and just keep repeating that same thing, which a lot of people in our industry do.
Yeah.
Can we dive into it? Because I'm really interested in finding out what makes people change, because it's the number one thing I get asked all the time. What was your turning point? What made you realise there was a better option or a better way to do things?
Pain, I suppose. The pain of, not having anything to look forward to, not going anywhere in life, losing friendships, all that sort of thing. I used to be one of those tradies that you look forward to the weekend, so you go out on the piss, Now, I still love a beer, but, I don't look forward to it as much anymore. I listen to podcasts every day, just trying to keep learning. So I think that's the difference, because I used to drink so much because I wanted to forget about the pain. Now I just face the pain straight on. And that was the turning point for me, where I just faced the pain and...
That's powerful. That's powerful stuff.
Manned up a bit,
Yeah, because your biggest wins come from your hardest challenges.
Definitely.
And it's very easy to... that. I think that's what most of the world does. We shy away from the pain because it's easier.
Yeah, that's right. You basically try and...
Instead of leaning into it.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to face it head on.
Yeah.
I used to hate doing my tax return. Hate it. Because every time I did it, I knew there was another bill. But now I just get it done.
Yeah.
Pay the bill and it's done, But
is that because you're more aware of what your expenses are and your costs are?
Yeah.
And I hope you're putting your tax away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you learnt that from what you went through, of what learnings have you done in the last few years to get to where you are now?
I've got a really good accountant. He helps a lot. He sort of pointed me in the right direction. And obviously my last employer, he helped me a lot because I asked him a lot of questions. Because he had 8 employees at one point. And, it was really stressful for him. And even though he had someone like me to run a crew as well, it's just that it just got too hard chasing the work and all that sort of thing. But I think learning a lot from my past employer. I still talk to him. We're still good mates and stuff like that. So any questions I have, I usually just ask him, and if he can't answer it, I ask the accountant. Yeah. So I'm not scared to ask the questions, where before I just didn't give a fuck.
Well, that's another important one too, because that was me as well. I was scared to ask the question because my gut knew the answer.
Yeah, that's right.
And the answer was always shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But whereas now, you got to lean into it. So, do you find the more you lean into the challenging times and the challenging things, the faster you excel? Yeah,
I'm sort of going through that now, because I've only been in this company for 16, 17 months now, and it's been pretty easy going up until this point, and then having employees, and it's a different kettle of fish, because I was just by myself for a while, and obviously making plenty of money. And then all of a sudden, get all these employees, I'm chasing up work and, having to go back and getting phone calls and messages from builders saying, this is fuck. Well, and then you calling your people up and saying, hey, what the fuck's going on here? And then, that's really, really stressful, because, you're out quoting jobs, you're talking to people, trying to build relationships. And these people are doing this stuff behind your back. It's just I think
it's like building a team is in a construction business is hard.
Yeah.
Like, there's absolutely no doubt about it. Like you've really got to put a lot of time into sourcing the right people. And like my big thing is now you've got to make it, like it's hard. I find it hard to get buy-in from the team because it doesn't matter how much you talk to them about, like give me value, like you show me, I'll look after you, because that's how it's got to be. Like if your team add you value, if they do the work correctly, if they do it efficiently, if there's no fuck ups, if there's no limited waste, like you get good feedback. Like it's not actually hard to add value.
That's right. I think that's where the times have changed, and I think this is where you're going into a different, like a better place with the whole building industry. Back when I started my apprenticeship, and probably the same for you, it was more so it was them giving you a job, but now you basically need them to you need apprentices. Where back in our days we didn't, like they couldn't give a fuck if you stayed or didn't, you know, like where now like we're pushing for more people to come through the industry, where back 20 years ago it was probably more, you know, if you fucked up, like they'd just send you on your way, you know.
Find another one.
Yeah,
it is very challenging, but like how are you managing it now? You got a couple of apprentices now, so you're on the tools, you're looking after them.
I'm on the tools a lot now, so
yeah
I basically just have them with me, you know, or I've got a 4th year apprentice, so I'm trying to get him going, but he was with a really bad employer for the first 3 years of his apprenticeship. So he's basically just been labouring, mixing glue, you know, not really going out of his comfort zone. He's just been doing repetitive stuff. So I'm sort of trying to get him, like he can't screed floors, he can't do niches, stuff like that. So a 4th year should be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's never done it before, so you know I've got my challenges with him, but you know he's got to be open to learn all this stuff and know that even though he's a 4th year, he's probably only a 3rd year.
Yeah, and then who else you got?
I've actually got Christy. She's a young girl. She's 21. She'll be 22 in a couple of months, but she really struggled to get an apprenticeship. She didn't really know what she wanted to do, but she liked tiling. So she tried to get an apprenticeship with a few people, but I suppose being a female, it's a bit intimidating to have if you have boys in your crew. And so she struggled to get an apprenticeship, and then she worked for the same company that my 4th year worked for. And I said, she was actually dating one of my friend's sons. And I said, no, don't go work for that bloke, because anyway, he ended up going bankrupt since. So. Yeah, she signed up with me and she's been with me ever since. And I've gone through like 6 apprentices in the last 12 months and she's been the best one so far. Yeah.
It's good. Like I'm all for females coming in the industry. I think they've definitely got a place, and they like I'd imagine they'd be great for tiling, because like a lot of the time their attention to detail is better.
It is, but like she goes just as hard as the boys. Like she'll carry buckets of mud, you know, like if you treat her any different, she'll probably yell at you, you know, like. No, she goes good.
I think it's awesome. I'm really pleased to see more females having a go and
definitely
branching out into different trades and bits and pieces. But so then how do you, like, did you book into the JT Fox or your partner? Like, what was you went to Robert? So
I went to Robert.
I'm assuming you went to Robert because you got interest in property.
Yeah, I'm mad on property. So we went to Robert Kearse. Like, we had no idea about the other people that were going to be there, and so JT Fox came up and we're like, oh, this sounds like a pretty good thing, and you know he obviously has some knowledge about what we're doing, and that just a spur of the moment thing that I just went and did. And I'm glad I did it.
I think I definitely got a lot out of it. And I was quite surprised that a lot of people said they didn't get much out of Robert that day as well, because I got heaps out of him. Like
I probably didn't get that much because I listen to Robert's podcast every week, and I probably didn't get that much, but you know in saying that I probably did learn a little bit, like read between the lines sort of thing.
Have you listened to the Creature from Jekyll Island?
No, I haven't listened to that one yet.
Oh man, I've only just sort of got through it. It's a big one. I had to keep stopping at 26 hours or something. But
oh wow,
it's huge. But holy shit, it's an eye opener. But it's unbelievable how your mindset shifts when you know more about money and its value.
Definitely. I just finished a book last week. I forget the name of it. It was written by Jim Ricketts. The Aftermath. That's the name of it. Aftermath. And it's basically just talking about how the American dollar is going to crash and how they're trying to push for World War III and they're just going to keep printing money, and it's just.
That creature from I think it's Creature from Jekyll Island. Like I really struggled to get into. Like I had to listen to things multiple times, and That's not unusual for me. It takes a little while for things to sink in. But that book, I think, was released in 2018 or 2019 or something, and they were talking about COVID, and like he went right back through the years, and like when you like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but you've got to take, when people are talking about stuff that's been happening for hundreds of years, and all these things are all falling into place, like it does worry me that we're leaning towards we're all heading towards being completely controlled.
Yeah.
And money's going to be a big thing for that. Because money is worthless.
It is.
Like
cash is trash.
Yeah, like it used to have value. When like every dollar used to be referenced to gold.
Yep.
So it was, the dollar value in the world was always limited by the amount of gold in the world.
Yep.
But obviously that, with the population growth, that's unsustainable. So then they started printing money. So
exactly,
money is actually worthless.
So with that Aftermath book, he actually talks about if they were to, because of all the money in the world at the moment, to actually, because of the price of gold, to go with all the, I think it's like $24 trillion in the world or something, and to get it all backed by gold price would have to go to $27,000 an ounce.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah.
And like, how many people know about this stuff? Like, why aren't we taught this stuff at school?
Well, this is the thing, we should be.
And
like, I'm really interested. So you're, like, before we started recording, you're saying you're really into your property, and that's
yep.
Like I've always known that property was the way to get ahead, because it's just in my early days I didn't understand money and finances, so like I nearly went broke because I was putting too much into property because I wasn't running my business properly and all types of things. But when you, like, even just from listening to that book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, like it's just completely opened my mindset up to the way that I feel about money, the way I think about money, the way I value money.
Same.
And it's changed the way I make decisions about money.
Yep.
But you obviously have seen, like, you want property to create your passive income and have something else on the side. Is that why you're getting into your property?
Basically, yeah. Like, I can't tile forever.
Yeah. So and it's important, isn't it? Because that reality is, it doesn't matter what trade you are, it's hard on your body.
Definitely. Like, my knees aren't that flash.
So you've got to be smart, eh? Like I tell people all the time, like, wealth isn't created by what you earn. Like, everyone just, like, going back to employees, like everyone just wants to keep earning more and more and more. But
yeah,
those same people are the ones that are eating out 3, 4, 5 nights a week. They've got a house full of brand new furniture. They drive new cars. Like, they're constantly spending money. But
yeah,
wealth is actually not created by what you earn. Wealth is created by how you spend your money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And that's for a lot of people. Like, how many people out there refinance because, you know, they've got a car loan, you know, refinance their house to pay for it all, you know, like, and then...
And this is what they talk about in these books. Like, this is all orchestrated. Like, they want us in debt all the time. The more people in debt, the more people don't understand the value of money, the better for the hierarchy, because the interest payments just keep coming in.
Yep, that's it. And then from what I hear, they're going to drop interest rates in September or, you know, later this year in America. And because we're linked with the American dollar, we have to drop interest rates as well. And so, yeah, it could be a very interesting 12 months, I think, with the US election coming up as well. So
yeah, definitely. So where's all that come from? Like, as a tradie that started work at 14, almost went bankrupt. Like, where?
I basically, when I only bought my first house, started 2022, and I was with my partner that I have now. We just got engaged back in April. She just bought her property 12 months before that. And once I knew that I could buy a property, it just sort of opened my mind. I'm like, right, surely I can do more than just tile. Like, there's got to be more. I don't want to be like all the other fellas that are in my industry that are still tiling at 50, 60, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. I want to do something different. And that's basically what started it all. And once I, you know, bought my first property, it just really, everything just exploded in my mind. So
yeah,
just started listening to all these books, podcasts, everything.
What's the best ones you've listened to?
Listen to the Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad podcast. Nathan Birch, he's a buyer's agent. He talks a lot about he talks a lot about the Australian economy and all that sort of stuff. Like, we've bought a few properties through him.
Yeah.
I've learnt a lot off him. Yeah. And the way he goes about property really makes sense to me.
So you bought your first property in 2022,
yep.
And you just said you bought a few. Like, so how many have you accumulated in a couple of years?
So we've just signed a contract where we get to get finance, but on our 6th property.
Holy shit! In 2 years.
Yeah, basically. 2.5 years, yeah.
Mate, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to be proud of that.
Yeah, well, my partner obviously has her property, and she bought one herself as well. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's like, do you mind talking about this?
no.
Because again, this, like I said, a lot of tradies think they're going to make their wealth from doing their day job. Like, your day job will very rarely make you wealthy. Like, you've got to
This
think
is where
outside
it
the
comes
box.
back to taxes.
Yeah. And look, this is definitely not a financial or real estate podcast. We're
No.
just simply talking about shit that we do. So
Yeah. This is where it comes in the taxes. Like, if you keep the harder you work, the more tax you got to pay. So you need to find ways to use that money and then save on tax later on.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
because you've done that in like a 2-year period where the pricing of
Exactly.
houses is
Yeah.
going through the roof.
Yeah.
So that's pretty unbelievable. And are you buying them all in Australia?
Yeah,
Or
all in Australia.
like local area, or you're going?
No, we've got one. We've just had one settle. It's in Victoria, in Tallangatta.
Yeah.
We got one in Townsville, and
Townsville, we're looking around for another one at the moment as well, to add to our portfolio, and like Townsville is going pretty well. Like
it's
surprising what you can buy a property for there, and the rental returns.
yeah, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Like, we paid 280. We only bought a 2-bed, 2-bath unit. We paid 285. It only settled back in April, May.
Yeah.
It settled back then, and it's renting for $450 a week.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And
So
the bank's valued it now at about 320, 330.
Yeah, so you've got 40 or 50 grand's worth of equity in a few months. So
Yeah.
So what's your plan with, like, is it to create passive income? Because, like, obviously depending on where you buy properties, you're either going to make rental returns out of it and keep it long term, or you're buying areas where you're going to get a lot of capital growth in it, or it could be a mix of both. But
Yeah, I think we're probably just going for that cash flow at the
Yeah.
moment. Like, we've already got places, like properties that have got capital growth already.
Yeah.
So we're going to obviously tap into that equity and keep buying. But the buyer's agent that we go with, Nathan Birch, we did like a phone call with him, and he basically said that we could get up to like 15 properties in the next 2 years. So
yeah.
he's done it all himself. He's got like 240 odd properties himself. So
Yeah, so is he obviously takes a commission, so does he find the properties for you?
Yep.
And then come back to you with all the data?
Yep.
Yeah, I have to give him a shout out. He can sponsor the podcast.
Yeah. He's so good, Like, he's really
Yeah.
good. I fully recommend anybody talk to him, because if you want to get out of the rat race, he's definitely one man to talk to.
Yeah, well, mate, I really appreciate that you've been so open and talking about it, because I get asked a lot from people, what else can you do? Like, how do you be successful? And look, everything I do with my Live Like Build business, like, I'm all for, I want every builder and tradie to have a business that runs well. So like Live Like Build, yes, it's about running, like, we teach you to run your business like a well-oiled machine, but a lot of it's personal development stuff. And look, don't get me wrong, like, our building business is incredibly profitable, very successful, but we have a pretty substantial turnover. Like, we got over $23 million worth of work on our books at the moment at all different stages.
Yeah.
But you can only ever go so far with your business.
That's right.
Like, and so we're similar to you. Like, we invest in property for cash flow. So
Yep.
for us, it's all about buying property at the right price, making sure that we've got enough cash to put a decent deposit in it to bring the repayments down, so that we're making good cash flow out of the rental income.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's similar to your strategy, but
Yeah, basically. Yeah, we're just trying to. This is how Nathan basically told us. Like, you get 15 properties, and each of them you put the rent up $100 a week. There's $1,500
yeah,
a week.
yeah.
Then that gives freedom to either I slow down or the missus can slow down.
Yeah, my plan's not to slow down. Like, I want to keep all my businesses making money. My biggest thing with the properties is, if I choose to slow down at work, I still want an income. I don't want to get to a point where I have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
If I can't, like, I can't travel, or I can't do stuff with the kids, or we can't buy new cars because there's not the income there. So the whole idea of the property is just to keep having income until the day I die.
Yeah, that's right. And then you got that generational wealth as well.
Yeah. Well, and look, we bought the game. Like, we bought Robert's game that day.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I nearly fell out. Like, it was over $300 or something. But
Yeah, wow.
it is like it should be made. It should be a board game that's just accessible. Like it should be given. They should be made played at school. Like I can't believe. I don't know if you've played it or seen it, but
No.
like I can't remember the name of the board game, but we might put a link or something to it. But it's like a real life Monopoly. Like you buy and sell houses. You can buy and sell shares, but it's real. Like you go bankrupt in the game. Like it's
I've heard a lot about it. I wouldn't mind. I'd like to play it one day.
What's it called? Cash flow. The I think they sell it online or whatever. But we've and it's a long game. Like we thought we weren't sure about. So since we bought it, we haven't even finished a game. Like we got like halfway through and it was hours and hours. But it was good because the kids were asking questions. Like they were learning the value of money.
Exactly.
And like I talk a lot of on the podcast all the time. Like most people don't even value their time, let alone their money. And I think you really have to understand the value of your time or appreciate your time because when you do that, it just skyrockets your value for money.
Definitely.
Like you, do you go and meet, like how do you run your business? Do you only work for builders or do you work for private clients?
Usually mainly, I basically just do new builds, but I've been sort of, because the new building industry in Toowoomba sort of slowed down a little bit because council hasn't opened up all this land. So I've been doing a few reno jobs for builders, helping them out a fair bit. So it's probably 50-50 at the moment. But before that, like last year, it was all new build stuff.
And are the builders are they giving you rates or you give them a rate? Like how you?
No, I just give them a rate.
And like square meterage rate?
Yep.
And like even with that, that's like if you haven't worked for yourself, it's hard to get your head around, isn't it? Like so if you've got a square meter rate, you have to get a certain amount of meters done every single day for you to make money.
Exactly.
So obviously a break even point, like each day how many meters you got to lay before you even make money.
It's a little bit trickier than that because there's so many different things these days. Like back when when I started tiling, like there was hardly any niches or like mainly all floors were bedded and all this sort of thing, where now it's just so many different things because of all these stupid TV shows on Channel 9 and Channel 7. I actually absolutely hate them. So people just get
you're the real deal. You're the tiler sitting here. I've talked about this, but I'm not a tiler. But my understanding is that if you waterproof a wet area, you've got to water test it for a minimum of 24 to 48 hours. Never heard of that. No, we water test all of our waterproofing. Yeah, right. Like you got to flood. You got to stick a balloon in the pipe and flood it and. Yep. Actually, I need to check that out on the Tools app, see what they say about the standard for waterproofing. But like they waterproof and then they literally bed it before the waterproofing's finished drying, and then that afternoon they're laying tiles on it. Yeah, you're just asking for trouble. Asking for trouble. Yeah, and then all the obviously the size of tiles has changed dramatically. Yeah, it's a lot harder on your back these days. The tiles are either small or too big. Yeah. And I think I understand people see something and they want it. I get all that, but I watch a lot of those shows. I'm like, fuck me, why would you pick that tile? But they use these big massive tiles in bathrooms. It's I've done those really, really big tiles. I've done a couple of those that's 3 meter by 1.4. Yeah. And they are so nerve-wracking to do because you got to cut them and you can't just cut it all with a grinder. We actually have this big long cutter that you suction cap to the top of it, and then you scribe it, and then you got to twist this thing and it just pops the tile and it breaks it. It's so nerve-wracking because if there's a little hairline in it, when it gets delivered, it just breaks out and then there's $1,200 down the shit chute, Yeah. But I just think people just need to think about what they're actually what they want to accomplish because it can be very costly for them to do what they want to do. Yeah, how's that work for tilers? Like, how do you know that the tile's right when it's being delivered when it's that size? Like, it could be bumped. You don't when it's getting unloaded or bumped. Exactly, you don't. You just get until you start cutting it, or you've cut it and then you pick it up and then it falls to pieces. Yeah. So how's that work with the builder? Like, does it? Well, I think there's insurances in place to replace that tile, but I think it's not on you. Like, that's it can't be on us because we're only trying to do our job. Yeah. But yeah, it's obviously I think there are insurances in place where they can replace up to 1 or 2 pieces. Yeah. But I think I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah. Yeah, no, because you see it more and more, like those big tiles, they're getting used everywhere. I think they're good. I think they're awesome for certain areas. Yeah, I think they're awesome on
a lounge room or a kitchen feature wall or something like that. But in a pokey little bathroom,
Yeah.
just you're just making alcoholics out of tilers. That's all you're doing there.
So with like that, how do you like? I know how hard it is for me as a chippy and a builder, like because you wouldn't have seen those big tiles during your earlier days.
No.
So do tile shops put on demonstrations, or do tile companies come out and say,
Basically, yeah, like the tile shops, they're the ones selling it. If they're selling it, they've got to know how to install it. So we basically just go to them and say, hey, how are we supposed to install this? And then they usually get a couple of reps up or whatever and say, this is what you got to do. And
yeah.
But yeah.
So are you like now with your I guess motivation to learn and get upskilled and get into property and stuff, like are you having these sorts of conversations with your apprentices on site and stuff to
definitely like I've been up in Christie a fair bit because she's got a bit of money saved in the bank, and I'm like, I want you to buy a property by the end of the year, because I know it's hard to get. She's obviously looking for a property to live in. I said, well, don't worry about that. Just get yourself in the industry. Just get a leg in.
Yeah.
Because once they start achieving goals like that, that's when they can. They're obviously going to come to work with more purpose and stuff like that. So, like my fourth year apprentice, he's 20. He hasn't got his license yet. So
a car license.
He hasn't got his car license yet. He's got a missus and a kid at home.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I'm like, I keep saying to him,
that's unheard of these days.
Yeah, I know.
Why? There's got to be a backstory to that.
Oh, if there is, he hasn't told me. Just hasn't had the opportunity, I suppose. I don't know. I got no idea.
So what? His missus drops him at work? Or
Yeah.
Every day?
Yeah. Missus and kid and babies in the back seat every day.
Oh my goodness.
Obviously if we're working a little bit out of town, or if it's 15, 20 minute drive, obviously I'll pick him up, or Christy will pick him up. But yeah, I've been pushing him a fair bit to get his license. Because obviously that's going to change his life as well, And I'm just trying to build these guys with confidence, because, the more confidence they have, the more purpose they're going to have at work, and, they're going to start thinking ahead a bit more.
Yeah.
And it's not this big daunting thing that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. There's more to life than just turning up to work every day.
Yeah. Mate, I'm really thinking you're going to inspire a lot of people that are listening to this, because it's like, it just shows like you don't have to be this massive business to get ahead. Like you got two apprentices. Like, are you on the tools all day, every day?
Oh, I am now, since I had a tradesman a couple of weeks ago, but he quit. He stuffed up a job, and he calls me up that afternoon after the builder showed me a photo that this job that he fucked up, and I rang him and said, hey, what's going on with this? He goes, yeah, I was going to tell you, but I didn't want to get yelled at. I'm like, mate, you're 37 years old, like, seriously.
So what did he stuff up?
Oh, I stuffed up this feature wall, and it's like one of those features where every tile's got to go in the exact same place. Anyway, he just put a different tile, thinking nobody would pick up on it. Anyway, the owner picked up on it straight away, and I got a photo sent through to me. I'm like, what? I just said to him, why wouldn't you just tell me?
Yeah.
Like, just tell me. Anyway, I had to order a whole new box, $260 later, and we only need one tile out of that box.
Yeah, but then plus your time, pull it off, redo it.
Exactly, fixing it all, and trying to make it up to the builder and the owner. And if he just told me there and then, I would have got over it pretty quickly and just started moving forward from that. But getting phone calls and messages from everybody, it just made things 10 times more stressful. And basically in that phone call, he goes, yeah, it's just not working. I'm like, okay, mate, see you later.
Yeah.
So
people don't like accepting responsibility, do they?
No, I think they like to pass it on a fair bit.
It blows my mind how many people will try and pass the buck for something that is clearly their fault.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like
ownership is one of the keys to freedom.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that I've sort of taken on board in the last 6-7 years of my life is you got to take responsibility. If you don't take responsibility, you don't learn. You need to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Because if you take responsibility, then you can move forward from it.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you say, trying to avoid that responsibility just makes situations 100 times worse. It makes you get down in the dumps. It makes you get angry. Everyone else around you gets angry.
So if he just called me up straight away and said, hey, I stuffed this tile up, really sorry, blah, 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 I would have got over it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because, I'm human. It's not like I haven't stuffed up jobs in my time, it happens. It absolutely happens. And that's where you need to learn from it, because I'm going to make sure that never happens again.
Yeah.
And I don't think they want to take that responsibility because it's just too hard for them.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what it is. People just don't... everything that people whinge about is very easy to change. but it's, I don't know. Like it's one thing that like I do get frustrated with, because I was that guy. Like everything I talk about in this podcast was me.
Yeah.
Like just like you were up until a few years ago. Like, and so I know it sounds easy for me to sit here and go, oh, you just got to do this, you just got to do that, but that is honestly how easy it is.
Yeah,
like,
it is. Like, just, you know, how you can get depressed, it just snowballs. Like, you just start looking at all the negative things in your life. You start looking at, I know it's easy to just sit here and say, look at all the positive things, but not until you change your frame of mind where, you know, like, I sort of just got to that point where I'm just sick of being a shit person. And that's where I changed my life. You know what I mean?
Well, that's taking ownership.
That's right. And it's basically, that's good. I was just sick of being unhappy. And I think I had to reach rock bottom for that to happen. Like, my parents were off me, all that sort of thing. Like, yeah, like life actually hit rock bottom, and I had to get myself out of it. And the only way to do that was me. There's nobody going to save me. Like,
I know we tried digging into this before, but what is it? Because some people just don't change. Some people just keep falling in the same hole over and over and over again.
Honestly, it's probably just from, well, I used to listen to a lot of motivational stuff on YouTube, and
like before you
no, it was probably just after I hit rock bottom. I'm like,
but what made you start looking at that sort of type of stuff?
I got no idea, to be honest. I started following the Joe Rogan podcast a bit, and David Goggins was on there, and I listened to his story. I'm like,
he's awesome.
Like that, like I've listened to both of his books, and you know, it's like I was in so much pain, and David Goggins basically said, well, you use pain. So that's what I pretty much did. I started running heaps after I listened to that podcast as well. I was running like 20Ks a week.
Mate, I think we're going to have to get you back in a couple of years, mate, for another one, because if you've had the growth you've had in the last few years, like, fuck.
Oh, who knows? You know, but it could all go to shit again. Like, you just don't know. But, you know, at least I know how to get back up.
Well, I don't think it will. Not if you keep this positive mindset. Like.
Oh, yeah.
But what was your first bit of success? Because I really like celebrating the small wins, because I think lots of people keep wanting the huge achievement or the huge win, so they don't celebrate things that happen along the way. And then a lot of people don't get to the huge win, so then they fall in the hole again. Like, what was the first sort of small thing that you thought to yourself, like, shit, I'm actually turning stuff around?
Basically buying my house, I think.
Yeah.
That's where it sort of hit me.
But that's a big, like, to go from where you were to buying a house, that's a huge step. Like, then, there must have been a point in there where you're like, shit, I actually can save up for a deposit, or...
Well, to be honest, and this is where a lot of kids out there as well, and I've been telling a lot of kids that there's so many ways to buy a property, and I never saved a deposit for a house. Because I pissed mum and dad off a lot back when I was, you know, being shit and all that, and they were off me a bit. I helped them out and put a bit of money into their house. Anyway, they ended up getting all this equity. So I basically used mum and dad's equity as a deposit for my house.
Yeah.
And...
Are they partners in the property, or you've paid them back, or?
So I think it was like 98 grand they lent me. There was no like money exchanged or nothing. They had to refinance with the same bank as me, and it was basically 98,000, and I borrowed 100% of my loan basically. And yeah, I think I got them released, I think September last year, because I put money into my property and got it going. And then, yeah, I got that 98,000 that I borrowed off them, went straight back to them, I think September last year. So there's been a lot of, obviously, because Toowoomba's going off, there's been a lot of capital growth in the property. So yeah, I've been pretty lucky.
Well, I wouldn't say it's lucky. Like, you took the step to get into it. Like, I would say that's not lucky. That's pretty risky. Like, taking equity out of your parents' house to do what you've done.
It is risky to a certain degree, but the only risk, because I know about money, right, and inflation and everything, like, the only risk really was if, like, the property is always going to go up, is, well, I can't really think of a risk, but basically if I stopped working, I went back to my old ways, probably would have been a risk. Yeah. But the only way it was risky for mum and dad is if I didn't pay my repayments, because mum and dad weren't in charge of that. They would just guarantor the deposit. So the only way it was risky for mum and dad is if they sold the property for less than what I paid for it. Yeah. So you didn't. And mum and dad would have to pay the difference on that.
Yeah, so you didn't physically borrow the money off them. They went guarantor and released, like, the part of the guarantor was them signing over some equity to put in there until you paid that back. Yeah, for me, like, I just paid out like $100,000 debt. Yeah. $150,000 or $120,000 debt in 5 years. There was no way I would have had enough money to buy a house. Yeah. But it's just, you know, talking to people, listening to podcasts, and that's how I came across that. All of your success has happened from listening to podcasts and Audible books.
Basically.
Like seriously,
Well,
like we live in.
There is more to it, I suppose. Like I go to the gym a fair bit, and I've got some really good friends that have helped me out of heaps. So I've also lost a lot of friends, but you are who you hang around. Yeah.
But it's like, I think it's inspiring, mate. Like for any traders or people that are out there listening and thinking, "Fuck, I'm never going to get where I want to be because I'm a one man band or I've got a couple of apprentices." Like you're a perfect example that you can achieve whatever you want.
Yeah, I was one of those tradies that used to go to the pub of an afternoon, put $1,000 for the pokies. Like, what was I thinking? You know, I look back now and go, why would I do that? Now, if I want to put money in the pokies, it's money that I'm happy to lose, you know. But I stay away from it. I think I've probably put maybe $50 in the pokies in the last 2 or 3 years. So
I wouldn't even know how to use a poker machine. But it's truly inspiring. Like I think you should give yourself a massive pat on the back. Like, do you sit back every now and then and go, fuck, like I've turned a corner, I've achieved a lot?
Yeah. Well, my partner's helped me a lot as well. Like she's amazing. So
So I met her she was at the JT Foxing. So what's she do?
She's a speech pathologist at the base hospital in Toowoomba.
Yeah. So that's huge. Like I feel you there, because mate, I definitely wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for Camille. Like you've got to have a good partner behind you, to
definitely
achieve these things, and especially when you're starting to get into property and things, because you've got to be on the same page.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's been really stressful couple of years. So, but you know, we're sort of slowly starting to reap the benefits of it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're feeling stressed, you know you're doing something right.
Again, you're leaning into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I definitely didn't think we were going to be talking about property today. So when it comes to the industry, like, because that's why you come here, you said you had a lot to talk about with the industry. What do you want to talk about?
Well, basically that I think the industry is personally, I think the industry is going to crash at some point. I think, like, how many young brickies do you see these days? Like, all the old tradies I know are the only ones in the field.
It's not going to crash. It's just going to get a lot more expensive.
Yeah, well,
because it's happening. Like, there's just becoming less and less. Like, the population's growing.
Yeah.
Australia's taking on more and more immigrants.
Yep.
We need more and more housing.
Yep.
And yet we're slowly getting less and less trades coming through. Like I can't encourage anyone enough to be a tradie. Like, why would you not want to be a tradie? Like, you can literally, you earn money to learn.
Exactly. And, and there's something that you can do. Like, I think going to grade 12 is a fucking waste of time. And unless you're going to be like a doctor or a lawyer or someone up in that sort of, there's no point going to university or anything like that, I don't think. Unless you want to be someone, you know, high up or whatever, you know. But you can literally be.
You got to make your own choices on that.
Yeah.
I sort of agree. I don't. I think you have to find a passion. You've got to be passionate.
Yeah, that's right.
Because if you're passionate, you'll learn. If you're not passionate, you'll never take it in.
That's right. But you've also got to work out what you want out of life as well. And yeah, I think that's where I think the problem is these days with the building industry is what kids are taught at school, like coming up through the years. Like, if you're going to be a tradesman, that means you're dumb, you know, like it means you're not going to be successful, sort of thing. Like, I think that I got a lot of that when I was at school. Like, the reason, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're obviously not going to grade 12. I'm like, I'm going to be a tradie.
Yeah.
And they just sort of, the teachers rolled their eyes at me. I'm like, righto. But look at me now.
Yeah. You hear that story all the time. Look, mate, it goes, after just finishing that book, it goes back to that book I was talking about before. Like, it's all heading down this path to, like, I hate school. I hate everything about it. I think it's too one size fits all. Like, every single person is their own individual. We all learn differently. We all have different interests. Like, I don't understand why you can have a school system that just pushes all the same shit on every single person. Yeah,
and I think a lot of it's, to be honest, a lot of it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, how come we're not taught how to do a tax return? Like, just basic stuff.
Yeah, we definitely 100% should be taught more about money, finances, business.
Yeah,
but the reality is, mate, they don't want everybody to know how to run a business. Like, that's how the world works.
They don't want us to be successful. They want us to be employees.
And I'm a firm believer. Like, I don't really care if I piss people off by saying this, but discipline needs to come back. Like, there has to be discipline. Like, this fucking everybody gets a trophy shit and bloody, it's just rubbish.
It's stupid, isn't
it?
it?
Do you think we would have championship NRL teams, AFL teams, netball teams if in the professional league, like, they don't get not everyone's a winner?
Yeah.
Like it's man,
Yeah,
it
but
pisses me off.
that's the thing, but like I keep going about, like, this is where you learn from the pain. So if you think you're winning all the time, you're going to get smacked in the face and you're going to play victim for the rest of your life.
But that's what I see now happening, like going back to the employee thing. Like I see it happening, like you get a new apprentice or you get a new employee that's maybe a bit younger, and as soon as you push them hard, they either quit or have a day off because they don't feel well, or like there's no, like, it shits me to tears. Like there has to be punishment for things. If you, like my wife's, this year she's taking it on, she's coaching my daughter's netball team, and mate, they're 12, 13-year-old girls, and mate, the disrespect that they show her at training is terrible.
Yep.
Like on their phone, not listening, purposely stuffing drills up, and then causing the rest of the team to have to do an extra lap around the oval, whatever. Like when she questions them or tries to have a go at them about it, firstly she gets yelled at by the parents, because like, who are you to discipline my child? Yeah,
exactly.
And then they flat out tell her to her face, we're allowed to do this at school. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, I think the educational system sort of needs a massive overhaul, I think. Because, you know, obviously at school, like, if you make a mistake, you get yelled at. So you try and avoid making mistakes. But in life, you make a mistake, you learn from it. Like, you should be encouraged to make mistakes at school.
Yeah.
But
the right mistakes.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you disrupt a class or you're in a fight or whatever, like, there shouldn't just be, it's okay, don't do that tomorrow. Like,
that's right. Yeah, slap on the wrist and you get detention or whatever. And
a lot of them don't even do detention anymore.
Nah.
But yeah, like, you're a shining example, mate, of like what can happen in the building industry. Like, if you, like, seriously, you get an apprenticeship, you get paid to learn. And if, like I said before, like, wealth is not created by what you earn; it's created by what you spend. And again, you're a perfect example of that. Like, you keep putting your money in the right place, and wealth will keep coming back.
Exactly, it'll just keep snowballing.
Yeah, and it keeps accumulating. It's unbelievable. I'm really pleased you're open enough to share about that, and I hope a lot of people, like, how can people reach out to you? Like, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, they can message me on Facebook, just Matty Lynch. I haven't got a business Facebook page yet, but...
Mate, come on.
Yeah, I sort of haven't really had to have one because I'm sort of old school where I'm not really into the whole technology sort of thing. So, but I'll definitely get the missus onto it for sure.
Mate, social media is enormous for business. Like, just helps you attract the right types of clients. Just like, people get to know you before they even meet you. And at the end of the day, that is the most successful business, when it's all about building relationships and stuff. But,
yeah, that's right.
But yeah, no, if people want to reach out, jump on board. So on Facebook.
Facebook, or send us an email, just mattlynchtiling@gmail.com.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, mate, look, I really appreciate you coming all the way down from Toowoomba to have a chat. Before we wrap it up, is there anything else you want to get off your chest or have a yarn about?
No, not really. I think we've pretty much covered all the world's problems at the moment.
Mate, you definitely calmed down during it. You were a bit nervous at the beginning there, but look, I'd love to stay in touch, mate, and then maybe in, who knows, another year or two we'll see where you're at, and you can come back and inspire us again. But like, have you got any advice for tradies out there that are maybe in a hole or thinking that they can't achieve their dreams?
Obviously discipline's one. Like, I never had any discipline when I first had my first business. Learn discipline first, and then that'll get you going. And no matter what, you can always get yourself out of something, no matter what. Yeah. Always just find the right people, listen to the right stuff, and you'll get yourself out of it. Yeah, awesome. Awesome, mate. Well, look, thanks for coming along. Look, guys, thanks for listening, watching, however you're viewing this. But look, as always, like, comment, share, subscribe, so that we can continue to make this Australia's #1 construction podcast. If there's a story out there, a question you've got that you'd like answered, or someone that you'd like us to get on this podcast, or if you would like to come on this podcast, please give us a shout out, because we want to keep delivering you stories just like Matty has today. So stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next one. Are you ready to build smarter, live better, and enjoy life? Then head over to livelifebuild.com/elevate to get started. Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Dwayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests.
The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.